Today I'll be going through an introduction to myself, just very briefly, what gives me the credentials to stand up here and talk to you all. And I'll be going through our journey in resourcing that I've had in my last two organisations, but mainly focusing on UAL and any questions at the end. So, to myself, I was born in 1987. Boring, interesting fact for you. That makes me a Libran, for those of you that are into your astrology and star sign. I started off my career effectively in the world of recruitment back in Welfare to Work at CTEC in 2013. On the day that I had an assessment day, I actually didn't know what I was signing up for, but it was actually really interesting because that world of recruitment, it exposed me to work with the hardest to work people in the sector, but trying to get them into work and employment, but sustainable employment. Because of the work I did there, I was then headhunted to join Newham Council. So I worked there for quite a bit of time before I joined Hackney Council. And in my last organisation, I worked in Parliament. So there's a few people here from Parliament. So I try to be truthful about what I say. And in my current role, I'm at the head of resourcing at University of the Arts London. So challenges that we've had back during COVID and when I was working at Hackney Council, I was in charge of all of the IT recruitment and we suffered a massive cyber attack, which took down all of our systems. So lo and behold, all eyes were on me to get our systems, recruitment processes up online. Like, Mark, how did our IT recruitment strategy and everything go wrong? I'm just recruiting the people that are supposed to work it all out and make it happen. I also became a dad during COVID, so I was just talking to Natasha about that as well, and all the challenges that had, and that change in mindset and how I had to adapt. Challenge as well, relying on job boards. I'm sure this is a common problem, which is solely reliant on those job boards and posting and throwing so much money down the drain. But what we're doing to actually attract organic engagement and candidate engagement and our pipelines. Resources has always been a challenge. Everywhere I worked in public sector, trying to get that money to invest in your teams and also the technology that you had and the process that you've got. And another bit is that resistance to change. Everywhere I worked, there's always been that resistance to change, getting your processes better, working more efficient, trying to be more agile as a service. So some of the triumphs that I had, I'll start on the big logo there, Charles. We are an Olio user, so the full disclaimer, use it back in Parliament and also in my current role. But the triumph for why I've looked this on is because I went and did systems configuration training to level 3. That has enabled me to kind of work with our teams as well to make those changes, but I've been able to do those changes myself, because sometimes it's easier for you to get the job done yourself when you don't have a dedicated systems team. So my colleagues in House of Commons will know about that as well. Compliance, so where I've worked as well, we've always had 100% compliance in our pre-employment checks, and especially where I work now, that's a big issue. IR35, I tackled that on, got to learn it all, best practice, and I got taught. Really great, been really useful in my current role. Neutral vendor is something that we're engaged with at the moment. The amount that we spend on agencies and the sheer amount of money and trying to navigate through all the public sector frameworks like Crown Commercial Services, ESPO, and there's a few others as well. Battery Neutral Vendor is going to simplify all of that and also give us some very competitive rates. So that's something that we're embarking at the moment. Back in 2019, some of the work that I did, because I looked after all the apprenticeship recruitment, we actually were nominated and were finalists in the Guardian Awards, which is really great. And in Apprenticeship National Awards in 2019, we actually won an award for Large Employer of the Year, which was great. And some triumphs on quality and diversity. So back in PDS, we reached more than 50% of applicants to be from a diverse background, compared to being at 19% before that. Anyway, resourcing journey at UAL. For those that don't know who we are, I would say, the best university in the world for the creative arts. We are one university. We've got 6 colleges, 4 institutes, 5 research centres and 2 subsidiaries. We have over 6,000 staff, 22,000 students from 130 countries around the world. And at the bottom are our stats for the last calendar year that we had with all our recruitment. So we had over 26,000 applications for more than 1,000 vacancies. We had more than 4,000 interviews, both online and offline, more than 1,800 offers, and we issued more than 12,000 contracts. You might think, how can you have that many offers, that many contracts? It's because we have a lot of hourly paid staff, a lot of hourly paid lecturers, visiting lecturers, and there's a lot of contractual re-engagement work that happens with all of that. So I started at UAL last January, so I've just been over for a year and a bit, and looked at the landscape of what we had. Our candidates weren't happy. Our hiring managers weren't happy across all levels, and our recruiters weren't happy in my team. So a bit of a challenge. Who do you go with first? I thought, let's start with candidates. One of the first things was that we had no career site, and was something that we quickly identified. We also didn't have the money to go and build a career site. So the career site was already mid-flow when I joined, but it was not ready to go live, and they wanted to go live. And I thought, right, let's try and do a bit of viral marketing around it. Let's go live on Valentine's Day. So my post was, come and fall in love with our career site on Valentine's Day, which a few eyebrows are turning like, sorry, that's not very corporate. It's not corporate messaging. But anyway, went ahead and launched it anyway, and it was really great. And some stats the last 30 days, we've had over 57,000 people, which is a 100% increase because we had no career site just over a year ago, so that's really great. And some of our organic visits, so we've been driving a lot more on our organic visits to our career site and trying to rely less on job boards where we're just spending so much money. Another thing with our career site as well is really hot on accessibility, and I hope this is one thing hopefully you take away and go away. We work with an organisation called Resite, and they create a tool that sits on your site, and it gives anyone that has accessibility needs with all the tools. So whether it's with making screen larger, with a screen reader, whatever it is, it's really great. And we also have free play media as well for all of our videos, whether it's on YouTube or Vimeo. It produces a live transcript of whatever is being said in the video, and we'll also try to transcribe the imagery on the site. So for people that got accessibility needs, if they're mobile, not using their preferred device, they don't have to worry about, oh, I need a tool to try and help me. We give them that option there and then. Just going to do a quick plug to our media partner called CDA. They are a small SME, but they've been really great. And I mention them because they built our career site for free. Would have cost about £15,000, £20,000, but they did it all for free. So a quick little plug for them. So coming on to the second part of the candidate journey was application form. We had probably the longest application form in the world. It took more than an hour to actually, you can see all the different sections that every candidate had to apply. They normally say a long application form will really put off candidates, and the fact that you have to register. We had more than 171,000 people apply over several years. So the stats don't quite add up. And when we spoke to a number of people with accessibility needs, they actually preferred being able to log in and have their details already there, rather than having to, every time they apply, having to re-put in all of their details, monitoring information, and so forth. Our new form that we launched back in October, 6 sections. One of them's just 2 tick box exercises, can't really count it as 6. We've had more than 15,000 applications, and it's gone down from more than an hour spent to only 15 minutes per application, which has been great. Next bit is with our job descriptions. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but very boring. And you think for a creative organisation, we should be able to have way more interesting and attractive JDs. That's what they look like. And Sabina's in the room, has also seen some of these and spent quite a bit of time with us, and will probably be bored to death of these. But new job description that I'm put together in line with brand guidelines. We wanted to cover a few key things. Our presentation, what's the first thing that's going to make an impact? It's like going on a date. The first few seconds are really crucial. What's that initial impression that you're going to make on candidates? We wanted the structure of it to be right, to be more aligned. We want it to flow better as well. We wanted to place some limitations on it as well. So something that I learned from my time in Parliament is we looked at limitations, a number of duties and responsibilities, but also a number of criteria as well. That really helps when you're trying to improve diversity, especially for people who are trying to attract people from abroad. Consistency in our templates with the structure, and then also what I just said, templates as well. We've created a whole arsenal and bank of JD templates from different grades, different positions, different job families for different sectors. It gives hiring managers a base to work from, so not having to work it out from scratch. And with that, we launched some JD guidance. So on the left-hand side, we've got a framework, a skills framework that we work with. JDs are having all different titles and criteria, and we thought, right, let's make this consistent and give some guidance to managers, but also to our HR teams as well, if they're getting involved in the creation of a JD or for job evaluation. Job board. Our job board is very dated. So the system came online in 2014 with Olio, and until I arrived, they've never done a single thing with it. So brand guideline was out of date, and it just looked very tired and old. So apologies for the Office memes. I do love the Office, the US version, so I should have done that as a disclaimer. A new job board, so we worked with Olio to redesign and have links to our career site. So for those candidates that aren't being driven through our career site and coming for different job boards, they still have quick and easy access on the candidate journey to look at those resources on our career site. But importantly, our internal users during some feedback said they felt left out. So we had an internal job board brand done. So we had links to internal intranet and Canvas pages. And we also have like a career toolkit, some information on apprenticeships, and some staff benefits that I might not ordinarily know about. Data as well on our dashboards. Really important. I love data. I'm a bit of a data nerd and geek. Lorna, you'll know and will recognize all of this as well, and Charles as well. But what we did, we spent a lot of time, and I learned about all this during my time in Parliament, where we looked at Report Hub when it was just launched. At first, it took me a while to kind of really get my head around and understand it. But as I became more comfortable with it, because the House of Commons did a lot of work, I thought, oh, that's giving me some ideas on what I can do. What I've been able to do is build different dashboards. The problem, like Lorna said, once you start making this known and available, more people want reports. And an organisation with more than 6,000 staff, different colleges, different institutes, they all want their version that's specific and local to them. So that's been a bit of a headache, just to be honest with you, so just be careful with that. But the other bit, I also did a quick Microsoft Forms survey. I did a survey last May, and it took about 10, 15 minutes. I only had about 29% response rate. I just launched at the beginning of this year a very quick survey that literally only takes 3.5 minutes to 5 minutes to complete. I've had a 100% response rate so far. And it's very quick. It's just asking, how have you found the overall experience? Was your campaign successful? And then a very quick 3 questions. Was our comms clear? Did we respond to you in a timely manner? And did we manage your expectations? And then a quick free text field for any constructive feedback, or can we get in touch with you? Really quick. Doesn't give me the full picture of everything, but enables me to very quickly identify where those pain points are with our customers, especially internal stakeholders, and very quickly try to work on plans for those improvements. The last bit of what I've done here, my journey in the last year, is I spent a lot of that time last year focusing purely on our candidates and external. I've now started to pay attention to our internal managers and also to my in-house teams as well. So the structure of the team as well, I've done a phase 1 to reshuffle some of the resources around. So I had 5 resourcing teams and 3 managers. 1 manager had 3 sort of team leaders. I've now balanced them out across each manager. So they've got that team leader managerial support as well. And I've reshuffled some of the teams so they've got administrative support as well. And sort of like a briefing document, just introduce. It means so a bit of backstory. The people in my resourcing department were all joined as administrators. But 18 months ago, they were asked to go, hey, you need to go become resourcing advisors. Find the right people for the right time and cost, but they've never been taught what it's like to advise. They can do the administration part great, follow processes great, but not actually advising hiring managers. So this briefing document means we get all the information we need to put onto the vacancy as well, but also that campaign advice. Because you're not always going to go through your recruitment portal. There are different routes. You've got talent pools and all different other options. So this is tried to guide them and gives all the different links and notes. We've got a checklist for managers as well that we're about to roll out as well. So it gives them a bit of time. This is what came out of the surveys that we had. They didn't know what they're supposed to do when, and it's a quick little checklist. Did a bit of guidance for those who want to look at and explore the public sector frameworks, which has also helped our procurement team. And then the skills framework. So we actually developed a spreadsheet, which I actually found going all the way back several years, and everyone had just forgotten about it. But what it had was competencies for person specification, part of the JD, across all the different grades. It had application questions that you can ask depending on the grade, because you don't ask the administrator about how they've been able to impact change at a high level, not going to happen. And the last bit is interview questions as well. So hiring managers have all the tools that they need depending on what stage of the process that they're at. And there's more work to look around that as well. Cool. Try and wrap this up. So, UK Parliament, don't know if any of you know about UK Parliament in its entirety, but a lot of people get confused with the civil service. Not the same thing, but we do have access to some of the benefits. I did when I was there, sorry. But House of Commons households is well known, but the UK Parliamentary Digital Service is the relatively unknown part. Worked across both houses of Parliament with all the digital and IT needs. So when I joined, I was recruited to replace an RPO that had been there for more than 7-8 years. I had 3 months to go and recruit an in-house specialist team. I actually pinched someone from Andy's team to make that happen because that had that inside parliamentary knowledge. First thing I started to do was look at report. I had to build a business case, look at the future, to reassure those who thought, and the boards, etc., what are we going to do? You've just replaced a 7-year standing RPO. You've got 3 months to go and recruit a team. How are we going to make sure recruitment doesn't drop and all those essential, hard-to-fill roles are going to be a success? So I very quickly had to learn how to write very detailed reports to an audience, and I learned how to sell, which is a big challenge. Candidate pack. So something that we added as well, just to try and help assist with that process. I saw a lot of executive search, there were candidate packs being made, but what about all of our other jobs? So we thought we'd create a very generic candidate pack to help them with that whole process. But we also included terms and conditions, so candidate wouldn't have to wait until offer stage to find out what our terms and conditions are. That was a massive help in our candidate journey there. And lastly, adverts. We had no money to do an EVP and employer branding exercise, which I believe concluded, Andy, I think? Nay? Okay, it doesn't, not yet. But we thought, right, how can we try to make ourselves more attractive? Parliament has a lot of stigma attached to it in itself. Digital was already a hard-to-fill sector in itself, especially when you're trying to increase diversity. But in the last statistic report, I saw that only 19% of candidates come from a female, identify as female. So how can you try and increase all of that? So I thought, right, let's get a copywriter on board who can write all of our adverts, but we'll do kind of a mini exercise. And when you've got money that is strapped, you don't have money to go and do an EVP employer brand exercise, this is something that you can utilize. So we use TMP. And I said, we need to hit all these action points. We need to motivate them and help them to understand. We need to have the call to action. We need to help attract them, motivate them, and lastly, a bit of an inclusion, an EDI bit as well. And we found that really powerful with our adverts. We saw the moment we launched this live as an about us statement, and we made it consistent across all of our social media and so forth, we saw a 229% increase in number of applicants and 108% increase in the quality of candidates as well, just by changing our about us statement. Didn't cost much. We charged it about a cost of 10 adverts and had an overnight impact. Any questions?